you would have heard about what has happened to Bud Light, the beer brand that has learned the hard way that the adage, go woke, go broke, isn't just a cute line, but can become a brutal economic reality.
It is worth recalling that the glorious stars of classic Americans, Bud Light, Ben and Jerry, Target, were invulnerable for anything since no one would ever question their trustworthiness. These were once thriving firms, but today have faced a significant backlash, both financially and at a brand level worldwide, because they got to a point of deciding to be woke. Panahi, Kelly, and Caleb also debated the fast decay of these Goliaths and posed the question as to what these colossal will ever do to regain the trust of clients. The downfall of these brands serves as a stark reminder that chasing social approval can come at a high price, and the question remains, to what extent they somehow come out of the harm received. As in most previous market leaders, that one was damaged due to issues previously associated with political correctness affecting the Bud Light brand too. This problem pertains to Bud Light, or what used to be America's favorite beer, which has had a rather nasty turn in recent advertisement histories, mostly due to a less than sagacious marketing initiative, including trans YouTuber Dylan Mulvaney. This change made for wider audience recognition backfired and resulted in the worst thing possible, the leakage of the devoted viewership. The effects have not been small. Bud Light, which among Americans is one of the most recognizable beers, has now figuratively and officially stepped down from being the most popular beer in the United States. It was recently displaced after being ahead for 2 decades in terms of global sales to Mexican lager Modelo Especial. What happened is not just shifting trends, it's the result of the misadventure of attempting to leverage a social cause or political sentiment that was unpalatable to the core set of customers that the brand was trying to appeal to. Critics argue that Bud Light's downfall is a direct result of the brand's decision to prioritize virtue signaling over understanding its audience. The association with Mulvaney, meant to demonstrate inclusivity, instead sent a message that alienated the very consumers who had kept Bud Light at the top for years, primarily blue-collar workers and traditional beer drinkers. Many felt that the brand had turned its back on them, prompting a widespread boycott that continues to impact sales. The financial consequences have been staggering. Bud Light's parent company has reportedly lost over $27 billion in market value, a devastating blow that highlights the risks of pandering to social trends without considering the potential backlash. The once iconic brand now faces an uphill battle to regain its standing in the marketplace, and the road to recovery is uncertain. The advertising agency that created a disastrous Bud Light campaign with the help of a transgender influencer, Dylan Mulvaney, is now in trouble. But, as Sky News All-Star Megyn Kelly pointed out, the consequences of this very marketing move go much further than Bud Light alone. Consumers not only shun the brand, but also have discovered other beers, so Bud Light's consumption keeps falling without the possibility to reverse the situation. The scenario is equally terrible for the ad agency that is behind this kind of advocacy. They are now reported to be at their worst, in a state of panic as they deal with what is being considered as legendary blunder. On the contrary, instead of elevating Bud Light to the position of the desired brand, the campaign has made a joke out of it on the national level. Asking to be associated with a can of Bud Light is now a laughingstock, a ridiculous imagine, and a figure of mockery. Since it was once the beer of Middle America, it has become the beer of embarrassment. The consequences have not been long in coming, they have been grave. Leading members of the campaign have been dismissed, and the agency loses credibility for potential jobs that it can be awarded. Which marketer will risk to entrust his campaign to this agency, having seen what happened to the last campaign? The effects are being seen across other brands for the same, as they too begin to experience similar blowback. This has had a nuclear impact in its effects. It has shaken corporate America to the core. The negative consequences are not only being felt by Bud Light, but also by many companies like Target, Chick-fil-A, and Kohl's, to mention but a few. Recently, the company has experienced financial and image problems after the apparel firm launched a Pride Month's clothing line with references to LGBTQ+ for children. This move by Sky News All-Star James Morrow prompted the company to lose $9 billion in market value, the Examiner said, as the social media campaigns may be as dangerous as they are advantageous to brands. After the incident, Morrow, commenting on the subject, identified the concept of go woke, go broke, and using the example of Target. The response that seems to be breaking the fiercest is the public one involving calls and actual boycott of products from these companies. Such a state of affairs resembles the earlier experience of Bud Light when consumer demonstrations caused a sharp decrease in sales. The issue was also addressed by filmmaker
I'm Ami Horowitz,
Ami
and I'm here on the campus of the University of North Carolina, where UNC and Duke are holding a joint conference
He used
on
to
the
consider the
conflict in
use of
Gaza.
such
So I
tactics
came
inescapable, except in fights within the party. But given the success of such tactics by the other side, he has shifted his opinion. Recently, the woke activism that Disney has been getting away with has backfired in a big way, as the company is now feeling the heat in terms of its pocket and image. Rita Panahi of Sky News pointed out that Disney, in particular, saw a shocking 4 million subscribers. The broader question of whether Netflix's obsession with BLM is costing it viewers. The result seems to stem from the increasing dislike for the directions that Disney has been taking in its recent projects, many of which are perceived to be overly political. One example of Disney's controversial content is The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, a reboot that has to do themes of systemic racism and reparations, which some audience members find distasteful and heavy-handed. Concerning such subjects as white fragility or racism, the show received accusations of race baiting and produced mixed feelings and discussions among the spectators. Many have pointed out that Disney's content has always been opposite of politically correct. Nevertheless, the recent erosion of subscriber numbers seems to show that the company loses the traditional Disney audience. Disney has, for years, put social messaging before entertainment, and as their latest results have proven, there is a downside huge. The scenario is therefore useful to illustrate the perils of enterprises in having an ideological bias that more or less goes against the inclinations of the masses. Starbucks has found itself in hot water as it navigates the complex intersection of politics and business. Recently, the coffee giant dedicated an entire TV commercial to transgender issues, aiming to showcase inclusivity. However, the move sparked backlash from customers who felt that the company was pushing a political agenda rather than focusing on coffee. Starbucks India released an advertisement featuring a transgender girl reuniting with her parents at a Starbucks store. While the ad was intended to promote acceptance, it drew criticism for what some see as an attempt to intertwine social engineering with the simple act of enjoying a cup of coffee. Starbucks' recent experiences underscore the difficulties businesses face when they wade into politically charged waters. As the company struggles to balance its social messaging with customer expectations and employee demands, it becomes clear that mixing politics with business can be a risky venture.